Well, welcome to the Sean Trey Show. I have a really awesome guest with me today. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell people who you are and what you do?
Yes, hello everybody. Happy, what day is it? Thursday. My name is Corbin Hunter. I'm originally from Minneapolis, Minnesota, but I reside now in Los Angeles, California. Been here for the past 8 years or so.
Nice.
Moved out here to be a professional dancer, and that is what I do. And I love what I do. I've been dancing since I was 2 years old. So it's my passion, and I can gracefully and humbly say I've been able to achieve a lot of success this far in my career. And I'm just so happy to be here today with Sean and talking to all you guys. And it's going to be a good show. Going to be a good one.
I love it. Now, you kind of touched on what was going to be one of my next questions. Like, how did you get into dance? How did you get into this? Was this the type of thing? You said you were dancing since 2. Was this like something that you knew from an early age this is what you wanted to do? Or was this just something you started exploring early on? How did that all pan out?
Yeah. So my mother, actually, she was a dancer. And I think she's like, okay, well, I have 3 daughters. Well, my youngest daughter came after me, obviously. But I have 2 daughters and, they look so cute in a tutu, so let me go ahead and put them in dance, and they need to get some energy out. So I think that's kind of how it started. I don't think I actually fell in love with dance until probably I was 7, 6, 8, around that age range. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, so you started into dance classes. Did you do formal training? Were you studying jazz, ballet? What did you start into?
So I actually was put into a competition dance studio, Stage Door for Performing Arts, based out of Coon Rapids, Minnesota. I don't think they're no longer open now, but I was training in everything: ballet, tap, jazz, hip hop. That was mostly where I started. And then as I got older, I started to broaden my styles that I learned. I went to a performing arts high school, so for them I got to do salsa, different styles of hip hop, West African, just kind of everything. I wanted to know it all, modern, all styles of modern. So yeah, you could definitely say I'm a well-rounded dancer. Yeah,
that's awesome. Now, when did you feel like the bug bit you? You were just when did it become this was something that you knew was your thing?
Yeah. Probably when I was 16. I auditioned for a job in Minnesota, and it was to dance for Willow Smith. And so I was a sophomore in high school, I believe. Yeah, maybe sophomore in high school, going into my junior year. And I performed with her, and I got to meet Beyonce backstage because she was also performing. And I just was like, this is what I want to do. And from 16 on, I was like, all right, game plan, let's go. How are we going to get to LA? And that was when I kind of knew for Corbin that this was my be-all, LA was the goal. And I could pinpoint when I said yes to following this dream of professional dance.
You just tapped on something that I love. You just tapped on something that I love. And that comes up as a common theme in my podcast with people that are talking about inspiration and their journey.
Yeah.
Say yes. Say yes.
Yeah.
And it's something that a lot of people don't think about, the power of that simple statement, because we so often go through life. It's really interesting, and I try to come at this with no judgment. Mm-hmm. But when we'll talk to people on my podcast, one of the things that I notice is that there is a ton of people. Sometimes people will have a lot of people will have this self-limiting speech. That's awesome, but I could never achieve that. That's great, but I don't think I can get there. And sometimes you got to say yes, because to just the opportunity, to life. And again, no judgment. Find what makes you happy. Find where you're content. Find your path and your journey. But you got to figure out ways to say yes. When did you start? When did that concept really jump into your mind?
Honestly, at a very young age,
I
I've
love that.
always been, I've always been a. I said no to things very young that Corbin didn't want to do. But when
Understand?
Corbin wanted to do
Exactly.
something, he said yes, like all the time. Corbin, you want to do this dance convention? Yep, sign me up. Like as children, you don't have fear. Most kids don't have fear, right? That kind of comes
Yeah.
into us as we get older. Um, nobody could stop me. I wanted to do it all. I wanted to be seen. I
That's
loved,
nice.
when I was younger, I loved being the center of attention. Like, I just knew that this was something that I could do. I knew I was good at it. And I wanted to explore every opportunity. Like I just wanted to learn, have opportunities to show what it is that I knew I was good at. And, I always saw myself not being the smart child. And I just talked about this, this past week at this seminar I was at. But I knew, okay, Corbin's not the smart child, but she's the dancer. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to run with it till the wheels fall off. So, yeah, I said yes. I said yes to the endless opportunities. I said yes to being vulnerable, putting myself out there. I knew that this was something that I loved to do and I was good at it. So why not give myself a shot? What's the worst that could happen, right? I don't get the job. They say no. I don't get the
Yeah, right.
scholarship. You
Right.
know, yeah, I was more fearless back then when I was a child. So at a very young age, oh yeah, I
That's
was
awesome.
saying yes to almost everything that involved dance.
That's awesome. You pointed out one thing too, that like it's this last year because of COVID.
Yeah.
We had to homeschool,
Mm,
and so my daughter she's 5,
okay.
and I when I was younger, earlier in my career, I taught
Mm,
children English when I lived in Asia, earlier when
wow.
I first moved to Asia, and I like teaching. It's great,
Yeah.
and so naturally, when everything went online and everyone's like, well, what are we going to do with education for the next year plus? And I
Right.
was like, well, and I dove into it. And one of the things too is like I noticed that there was a natural aptitude for my daughter for certain things.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like she's just like her mama. She loves singing. She loves dancing. She loves the arts.
yeah.
And like tonight we were recording a song, and so part of her homeschool today was to come into the recording studio and sing with mommy and daddy. And I
Mm,
was teaching her how to lay down a track. But it was interesting because she's not great at math. She's not great at it. It takes her time to learn. She's very smart, but it's taking her time to learn to read.
yeah.
And she's like, my cousin's smarter than me. And you made this comment, I wasn't the smart girl, but you seem really smart to me and really quick. And so I was just like, I think that sometimes our metrics are wrong, because we're not putting people into the situations or the opportunities for success that they need to be put in, because you were being put into that. Luckily your mom had the wherewithal to know dance is the place to be, and just helping you develop that,
Yep.
because we don't always get that in the regular school systems.
Mhm.
Now, did you have good mentors when you were coming up that helped you kind of develop on your path? Or were you seeking out the knowledge yourself?
Yeah, I have been blessed to have some of the best mentors kind of ever.
That's awesome.
I think, in my field of competition world, like, I just had
Hmm.
dance teachers and that was great. But someone who I called mentors, I
Hmm.
probably got when I was around 16 in Minnesota. I was a part of a professional ballet and hip hop company for 2 years, 3 years, 2 years. I don't know. I think maybe 2 years. And they, by the name of Ricky Palomino and Stacy Bodecker, two people who really help polish me as a dancer. Um, and then when I transitioned to California, I've met some amazing people who have also helped me get to my success in my career. I was a part of a scholarship program in LA, the Debbie Reynolds Scholarship Program, which unfortunately is no longer around. Neither is Debbie, right? But and I found some amazing mentors and educators who really helped fine tune the little things that I needed to go to where I wanted to be, and truly have been blessed. People saw me. I used to in LA. It's expensive, right? So I was very young out here. Yeah. Working multiple jobs, serving, bartending, trying to make sure I could still pay my bills. And in the area I lived in was a lot of, artistic people, directors, choreographers, musicians, right? They were all coming into this, this area I used to work. And they'd be like, okay, well, what do? You want to be a dancer? Okay, great. You got the look. Here's this. Like, I always had people who were willing to just help me out of the goodness of their heart, because they knew, like, okay, I see this lady, she's from Minnesota, she's so sweet. Oh, Minnesota, nice. I was always so sweet, she's so sweet and she's beautiful, she's pretty. Oh, I want to help her. Like, genuinely, I had people who just wanted to help me. And I am very, very blessed that I was able to have people like that in my life, because every single person who has touched me in any sort of way has helped me get to where I am today, for sure. Yeah.
There was a statement that a gentleman that came on the other day, he said there were a certain few people that just believed in him. Yeah. And I think that's so important for us, that these people who, because you use a word that I really love, the idea of being polished. And if you ever see a gemstone that is unrefined, they look rough, and yet there is a person who sees it and perceives it and goes, this right here, this can be beautiful, but it needs polish. It needs refinement. And I think that's such a powerful thing too, because in any of the creative arts, we can get to a certain point, but then we need help. And we need help to get to that next level. Yeah. So it's really awesome. Now, when you came to LA, how did you go about finding the work that you were going to dive into? What was it how did you begin to grow your network in Los Angeles?
Yeah. So usually, I'm trying to think back. It's been almost 9 years since I've been here. The first thing, I tried to do was get an agent. And I had met a few great people who were able to kind of, put a good word out there for me, because I knew I could dance. I just needed a little help. So I got an agent, and from there, all right, well, that was step one. Now I just need to get on some auditions and just get in there and get into the field of what it feels like to be around these professionals and people who've been working, who I have been following, So I just started meeting a lot of people, taking a lot of classes. And one thing, I talk about to, especially kids today, or people who are inspiring to be a professional dancer, one thing that I didn't do, and I wish I did sooner, was that I wish I would have been very specific about who it is that I wanted to work for, who works for them, what classes do they teach, and so forth, right? So my dream job was Beyonce. So I didn't know who her choreographer was. I didn't know who the assistant choreographer. I didn't know these things. So I talk about now, like, just doing your due diligence, right? See who it is, because unfortunately, this world is all about who you know. Right? It's 100%. All about who you know. So networking and meeting the right types of people. Like, I didn't understand that. I didn't understand the game when I was 18 years old. I just wanted to dance. So, I was just out here trying to meet people, take a bunch of classes, and I just, audition after audition after audition after audition. I mean, so many auditions later, and finally 5 years later, I was able to, get that one audition that I was hoping for. And, then my career kind of took off.
That's awesome. And that's the thing. There was someone, I can't remember the way they said it. Overnight successes are actually like, people don't realize that there is this mountain of work that went into an overnight success.
Absolutely.
You know, and so people are like, wow, this person just suddenly appeared on the scene. No, they've been honing their craft for years. You know, and we just happen to see what happens now, you know, what pans out. And you also touched on being smart about your process. Even now, as I'm building out my podcast, you know, how do I go about, people ask me, how do I go about finding people? Well, there's a couple ways. One is hashtags are great on Instagram. I just go through hashtags and I find hashtags that are inspiring to me. You know, like one day I'll go, you know, amazing guitarist or something, and I'll go and find amazing guitarists, you know, professional dancers, on different hashtags. And then I just kind of go through and what I see. But I also am smart about what I do too. I follow agencies, you know, and so, you know, I see CAA, UTA, Gersh, you know, Abrams Artist, and it just seemed, not trying to like, I'm not trying to chase people who are all verified or things like that, but I'm paying attention to who are young creative people that these people are talking about. Because like, you know, it's like, we have creatives everywhere. And it's just about, where can you find inspiration? And can you be smart about it?
Right.
Because like you said, if you want to work with Beyonce, well then do research about who Beyonce's people are and such, you know. And so for me, I would like to have this kind of, I'm wanting this to kind of become like a, I don't know what my genre is. It's not Oprah. Far away from that. Oprah's amazing. Yeah, it's like, you know, and definitely it's not a late night thing. It's more of like I feel like I'm a grown up Mr. Rogers meets like Oprah or something.
Oh my God, I love that.
Right? And so, but I mean, you have to kind of also know what you want to pull off and where you want to be going with it. And once you know that, the sky's the limit. But you have to know that too. You have to know what you want to reach towards and what you want to achieve, you know?
You have to. Otherwise, you're just like, all right, well, I hope I book something. You know, the world doesn't work like that. If you want to book something, you may book for the Teletubbies. Is that really what you want to do? You know, like,
exactly my point.
It's so crazy. Like, literally, the words that we say, and I preach this all the time, you know, are so words in general are so powerful.
100%.
Right? 100%. Whatever you say, you can do or can't do, they both can happen.
100%.
Right? So it's like, 100%. Be specific with what it is that you want, what it is that you don't want, because you can have both. You really can. You know, manifestation. I preach it. I live by it. With you. I spoke, I will dance for Beyonce. It was written on my walls. It was written on my mirror. Like, it was something that I knew, okay, this is happening. So just, if I could tell anyone who's watching right now, you know, you want something, goals, anything like that, get very specific what it is that you want, right? Because the more specific you are, the more detailed you can be, the more exact you'll have what it is that you're looking for. So
and I think that's the thing. You have to. What was it? The Marianne Williamson quote. Our greatest fear is not that we are. Oh, how's that go? It's like that we're inadequate, that we are powerful beyond measure, or something like that. It's like we think that we don't have power, but the reality is, and this is the thing that I see, and I wish people understood. We have this idea that the person who gets into the field and the person that has achieved and is successful, there's this huge gap between them. But the reality is that you can be here like that. It just is a combination of luck, knowing the right people, and just being open.
For sure.
To life.
Yeah. And that's what's scary too, is a lot of people are so afraid, right, of the unknown, that it's holding them back from an even better, even greater opportunity. Because literally I had quit I was so not happy at one of this jobs I worked at as a server and a bartender. I was very unhappy there. I was like, why am I here? I'm missing out on jobs. I can't take class. I have to work. And one day I was like, I've had enough. I was like, I put in my 2-week notice, and I literally booked Coachella like a month after that. So it was just like, you really never know what's waiting for you. You just have to get rid of something first in order to bring in something better. So
yeah, no, and my teacher, my energy teacher, would talk about create and destroy, but you have to be willing to destroy stuff to create stuff, because if you got stuff occupying that space, there's no room. There's no room in your life.
I love
so you gotta
that.
Be willing
create
to get rid of stuff.
Destroy to create. That's good.
Destroy to create.
I like that.
Now, who are some of the dancers that inspire you, or the people that inspire you most? Where do you go for inspiration, I could say?
As far as dance-wise,
I mean, and it doesn't have to be. Where do you go for inspiration?
Yeah.
I guess would be the bigger.
So currently, where I get a huge part of my encouragement is God. I got very spiritual this past year. You know, I was going through a kind of a very hard and dark place in 2021. And I felt like my cup was just empty. I had nothing to refill my cup. And as a dancer, we're always giving, having to be happy, be on set, and I love what I do. And I was just like, I don't have anything to give. And so God recently, I've been, I'm still like haven't gone in person to church, but I do a lot of online sermons with my pastor and my mentor, who I'm working with currently, my life coach. She's been helping me a lot. Her name is Tia Rivera. I give a lot to that woman. She's changed my life. And other, motivational speakers, Lisa Nichols. There's a lot of other people who I've been listening to just inspire me, motivate me, help change my mindset. I go to a personal growth seminar. It's called Psy Seminars.
That's awesome.
And I just started my progress or transition with them this year as well. Just starting to just really realize who I am as a person, how I want to show up in the world. And, being that I was not in a very good place, I really wanted to work on who is Corbin outside of a backup dancer, outside of being a businesswoman or entrepreneur. Like, who is she? How is she being, seen in the world? What's her purpose? And so I've really been finding inspiration from things like that these days. A lot of books, because this world this industry is draining. It really is. The people, I personally needed that, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who can probably, relate to feeling like that, but there are a few. Yeah.
That was one of the things that I'm with you. I had some dark times when I had some health challenges in around 2012. And there were days where it was tough.
Yeah.
And my dad's an extremely religious, spiritual person, and I always respect him for that. And he gave me a book that was really special. And the main theme of the book was just enough light for today. That I have just enough light for the step I'm on. And then that you have to find, sometimes we don't have all the answers. Yeah. Sometimes life is tough. Life leaves us feeling uncertain and drained. But if you can find that truth, whatever that truth is for you, and you hold on to it, and you search for it, and you find it. And because my dad he's what? He is 76 right now. He still works.
Wow.
He runs a massage school.
What?
And he has no plans of retiring, because for him, this was his second career. He trained a massage 10 years ago, and then became a massage teacher. Wow. And now he's on the state board for massage in the state he lives in. And why does he love to do it? Because his whole life has been a life of service. And how he looks at life is that if he's not helping people and he's not giving back in some way, it doesn't make sense. And to me, I just respect my dad so much for that.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Now, what are some of the what do you feel some of your mission is, if you don't mind me asking?
No, not at all. So right now I'm in a place where my mission, I have a few, right? Industry wise, and then outside of that, is to enrich, empower, and educate as many people as I can in my industry. Now,
I love that.
As far as that, this is where, I take a step outside of what it is that I do as a dancer, and now start to educate people on how to be able to retire with some money in their account. Because
right.
a lot of people in my industry, and I'm putting myself in this, we're not really financially educated. And being young, making, 5 to 6 figures, you're like, oh my God, I have all this money. Let me go and buy this. I didn't have this. Let me go buy a new apartment. Let me go buy a new car. Let me buy these shoes. You just are spending. And I, one of my very first tour, and I saved enough, but not enough. And, within a few months, I had nothing. And it's like, wow, okay, how can I now start educating people, especially the young, entertainers coming to California, how to protect themselves in this industry, and now be able to educate themselves on how to properly be 40 and be okay financially because they didn't spend all their money in their 20s and their 30s. That's one of my missions now, because I was there before, and I no longer felt like I felt like, my resume, which is pretty nice, and my bank account, they did not match. And I said, okay, what is going on here? And the pandemic really woke me up. So that's one of my missions, is to really now help educate, enrich, and empower, people, dancers, but also just everybody, in the world, about financial literacy, because it's something that I didn't grow up learning, especially in my community.
We are not taught financial literacy.
We are not. Instead, we're learning, craziness. It just
right. And I 100% agree. Like, if you can't teach people how to invest in basic things and to why are you teaching them calculus? Why are you teaching them, trigonometry? Because I'm sorry, those are important, but I think it's way more important to teach them how to not be broke and not beyond broke, like massively in debt, to whatever. I'm preaching to the choir here. Yeah.
So one of my missions, and then secondly, I really love to just give back to where I'm from. I never forget that I'm from Minnesota, so I enjoy going home to teach. I enjoy going back to, teach kids, especially the young girls who look like me. Growing up in a place where, I saw mostly white girls, I struggled a lot. I had a lot of identity and body self-conscious, psychological problems growing up. And I know I wasn't the only one. I'm sure I'm still not the only one. I'm sure there are young girls, brown, beautiful little girls who are going through what I went through. But not just, black girls or black children, but just all kids and people, anyone who was looking to go my route. Minnesota, we don't really have, like anything that prepares students for LA. And I feel like it's my duty to go
LA
home.
Is a whole new game.
I thought I was ready. I was thrown to the wolves, right? Yeah. So if I can do anything to, prepare these kids and students, and just, I came from a performing arts high school. So like I have so many, ideas and things I want to do, but I just want to be a beacon or something to show these kids what is possible, as long as you believe in yourself. So I have some things in the works, but I just really love giving back. So I want to start to do more so of that in my hometown.
I love that. I had this epiphany this week that I wanna throw at you because you seem savvy to a similar concept. I had this aha moment this week around finances, around money stuff, around the idea of branding. Because what I was struck by is that how often people will get hired as a position.
Mm-hmm.
Like this person gets hired as a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
This person gets hired as a dancer. This person gets hired as an actor. Instead of hired as Corbin or hired as Sean. Because the truth is the much more powerful position is to build up your own personal brand.
Right.
And then once you get to that point of like your brand has that power, you can start to ask for whatever you want to ask. And I noticed the difference with that with my wife, because my wife doesn't get booked as a singer. She gets booked as Fun Vi. She gets booked as the first winner of Vietnam Idol. She gets booked as the things that are part of her brand. And she can ask for more. She knows her value. And it's interesting because, when you kind of referenced yourself, and it seems also that you have this very strong understanding of your self-identity, which awesome.
Thank you. It took a long time to get here, let me tell you that.
Right.
But
I'm 42 and I just realized that, and I wish someone had taught me that when I was 15,
Yeah, and I've been doing a lot of work on who is she? Who is Corbin? Because like you said, the identity thing, I think a lot of people get attached to whatever job it is that they're doing, but no, who are you alone? Who are you by yourself?
Yes.
What is your brand, right? So, and I honestly, God, I have to give it to my mentor who has been really polishing me now in this day and age into, the woman who I am. But thank you. I received that.
I wanted to ask you this. Now, if you could go back in time and give advice to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself? And we're not talking change in the past. We're not talking, like Back to the Future type stuff.
I would tell little old Corbin to never ask for permission to be great.
Oh, gotta brush that one off right there. That was nice. Never ask for permission to be great. Now, unpack that for me. Why?
Because I feel like younger people, younger kids, I'm going to speak to myself. I don't remember when I was younger ever feeling like, okay, I have to hold back because of X, Y, and Z. No, I was fearless. And this is my own opinion. I just feel like children are fearless. And as you get older, the experiences we go through, just freaking life, this industry, coming in contact with shitty people. Sorry, but
it's true.
We get these walls that come up, and then it's like, dang, can I what? Yes, you can. I've allowed this industry, certain types of people to hold me back because I felt shy, or I felt like I was making people uncomfortable. And, I wish I could tell my former self to never let that happen. Never have let it happen, but it did. I'm back. But I would tell her that, because you don't ever have to ask someone to be great. And if somebody else feels uncomfortable by what it is that you bring to the table, that is something that they have to work through. It is not yourself.
Yes.
Right? You are not, you didn't do anything to make these people feel any type of way. They have their own insecurities that are being brought up to make you feel like you've done something wrong, make you feel like you need to pull back, to make you feel like you did, something wrong. No, it is something that they have to deal with, not you. Step into your greatness and don't ask for permission.
Yeah. And if any of those people are blocking your path, find a new path.
Yep. Because tomorrow is not promised. Our life is, death is the real thing. It happens, and we don't know when it's coming, but it's something that's inevitable. It's something that no one can, get around. So why would you settle less on a day-to-day basis because of somebody else's insecurity? I'm not doing it anymore. And I hope anyone listening, if you are doing it, stop it, right? Because you owe it to yourself to be the best version of yourself, to show up every day, giving what it is that you are meant to give. And I could preach all day about that, but that's where I see.
No, I love it. I love it. I was sitting here tonight with my daughter.
Yeah.
And I had written this song for her and her mom. And so I had her sitting down, and I had to give my wife a demo so my wife could learn the song so that we can record it next week. And my daughter looked at me. She's like, "Daddy, can I please sing with you? Set the microphone up for me." And I was like, and I was in a hurry for a second. I was like, let me just, I stopped myself and I said, "All right, let me do this part, and then you can sing with me here." And so on the chorus, which was much simpler, and she's 5, she's a little girl. And so, and I just sat there and I sat with her and I helped her get through the process. And then she did a good job. It's her second time, kind of singing on a song with her mommy and I. And she looked at me and she got quiet and she's like, "I get shy when I sing sometimes in front of people." And I looked at her and I said, "That's okay, but you still tried and I'm proud of you." And I think in those moments, it's like we have to be so ready to be strong and to be courageous, because there are some shitty people, like you said. We had during the pandemic, we had this beautiful tree that grew up on the front outside of our house. We have a crack between mine and my neighbor's house, a tiny little crack. And this tree emerged. And it wasn't just any tree. It was a Bodhi tree, which I don't know. Which is like, the Bodhi tree is the sacred tree of Buddhism. It's the tree that the Buddha sat underneath. It grew up over him and created shade, shade while he meditated and found enlightenment. And so the fact that we had this like really iconic, it grew out of nothing. The crack between the houses was like this. How a seed got in there, no one, no idea. Crazy. But it grew up there. And we just were like, this is a beautiful sign. We were so blessed by this. Yesterday, we came home and found that the stem of the tree had just been cut in half. Our neighbor, who's a very not nice person, he had been tearing branches off for a week, and we trained it over to our side. It wasn't anywhere near his house. The only branches that were left on, he cut it. And my wife and everyone, they went over and yelled at him, and he's like, "What? Well, I'm sorry, I guess I should have talked to you." And it was just a very cowardly thing to do. It was a very weak thing to do. And in that moment, we had a couple choices. Allow this to bring us down. Allow this to defeat us, or do something that was beautiful. So I immediately ran downstairs with a knife, not to attack the guy. I took some cuttings off the tree, and so I cut off as many different branches as I could, and I went and put them in water. And I'm now growing the tree. It's still alive. So those branches, I'm going to grow into multiple new trees, because even though a negative thing happened, I'm going to use it to plant more seeds. So it was one tree. Now it's going to become 5.
Absolutely.
And and so we can't let those negative things get us down. We have to step up and step through into our greatness, So I love it.
I love that.
Now, if you had Aladdin's lamp, what would you wish for? Because we're talking manifestation here. What would you wish for?
That's a good question. If I had Aladdin's lamp, I would wish for, man, I get one wish or three wishes.
I'll give you three wishes
Okay.
if you want 'em.
I would wish for wisdom and knowledge. Um, I would wish for probably a cure for breast cancer. So I've lost a lot of amazing women to that. And I would wish for probably this third one. Maybe I'd say this is a good question. Probably just my last wish. I want everyone to be happy in the world.
I like that.
So happiness around the world, cure for breast cancer, and what was the first one I said?
Wisdom.
Wisdom and knowledge.
Wisdom.
Yep.
I like that. I think the world would be a better place if people had more wisdom and knowledge and happiness. God knows, breast cancer has touched my family, so I definitely am understanding on that one. Now, where do you see yourself going in the next year or two? What do you want to really work on? What projects would you like to dive into?
So, it's very, very, very in early stages. But I see myself having my own nonprofit organization
I like
in the
that.
next year or two. I see myself definitely still in the entertainment industry, but maybe in a different light as far as more so maybe acting. I love stage. I love being on stage, but maybe it's a different stage, right?
I like that. I trained as an actor, so I say go for it.
Yeah, and I've done a little bit of work. I do like comedy sketches and things like that. So I have a natural, I guess, like ability to do so. I just gotta now like take it seriously and really start working on, my acting skills. I see myself the next year or two have impacted over, I'd say, maybe like 2,500 to 5,000 people's lives as far as educating them financially.
That's awesome.
I'll be a wife. I'm getting married next year. And probably maybe a mommy. I don't know. And just stepping into really Corbin entrepreneur side. I've only seen myself as a professional dancer, and I'm really starting to see, my whole, not asking for permission to be great. I took that on myself. I don't have to ask or wait for permission from anybody to try something new, to step into this new light, to become this new woman, to have new ideas, to have a new purpose. So that's kind of where I am, a potential book author. I'm in the process of writing a book. That's kind of where I'll be at in the next year or two. So
sounds like your vision is building an empire, and I think that's awesome.
It sure is. That's
You got to.
one thing I'm realizing. You know, I had a conversation with my father, who is almost 60, and I'm like, Dad, what do you want to, what do you want to leave behind? And I don't think he ever thought about this, right? I'm like,
Mm.
one thing that I hear a lot is that, you die twice, right? You die when you get put into the ground, and then the last time that your last name is ever said, right? So my last name is Hunter, will be Johnston soon, but Hunter nonetheless. And it's like, okay, so, Dad, like, what do you want to leave behind when you go? And he was like, dang, like, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
So, me and my father are actually in business together, and we are working on the whole financial literacy side, because even though he's 60, it's not even too late for him to
Right.
get his life together and live out his last few days how he wants to, and share it with his family and kids and grandkids and whoever else, That's a whole different long story, but hopefully I answered your question. I come on a little bit of a tangent. Sorry.
You did.
But,
tangents are the best thing, and I love tangents.
Yes.
They take us into wonderful new territory.
Yeah, so
no, that was
building
great.
an empire, like you said, it's something that I am doing, and I'm very strongly passionate about, because you're going to know who Corbin Hunter is to the day I'm in the ground, and that's a fact.